I didn't think we could go too far, but we definitely have. What's up, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. It is my birthday this month, and all I want for my birthday this year is the biggest, puffiest sleeves that I can make on something. I've got this lovely purplish yarn. It does not look very purple on camera, but it's this like kind of eggplanty, I think the color is called Fig. This is the Joanne Big Twist Value yarn. I have this left over from something else that I was working on. I will have to get some more, but I just want to see how far I get with this. I don't have any tops that color, and purple's my favorite color, and I just want to make myself a top that is cute and purple and has big capital V volume on the sleeves. I've been doing some experimenting with how to make sleeves puffier. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I've kind of gotten the hang of like a little like princessy looking puff sleeve. I don't know why I was illustrating that for you, but like Snow White kind of sleeves. I've gotten that down, I think, but I want to do something a little bit longer and way bigger. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, so I have done 70 chains. I think I want to do, hello. There we are. Okay. I think I want to do something a little fancier with this top. I don't just want the sleeves to be the only star of the show, and I want to do something a little bit different than I normally do. So that I think is mostly going to reflect in the neckline when we get to that. But I do kind of want to, even though I'm doing this in my, if you've seen my other videos, you might know, I love to do vertical lines. Half double crochet is like my favorite. It's my favorite stitch for wearables because it's not so tight like a single crochet, but it's not so open like a double. It's the perfect in the middle. But I think I might sort of switch up the pattern I end up doing. So when I make a decision about that, why are we having so much trouble today? Maybe because I keep moving my hands. But when I make a decision about that, I will let you know what I end up doing. Okay, so this is what the front and back pieces are both going to end up looking like. I know that this seems like a pretty deep neckline, but I am planning to do maybe an inch or so of trim around it, so I'm sticking to this plan for now. This is all half double crochets and back loop slip stitches, just to give it a little bit of texture like I mentioned. I'm using a 5mm or H hook for this, and I'm going to start with the part that goes under the armpit with 32 chains. Then I'm going to chain 2, do a half double crochet into that third chain from my hook, and do half double crochets all the way across. Now I'm going to repeat that for 2 more rows. I'm going to chain 2, turn, continue this row and do 1 more row of half double crochets. Now that we have our 3 rows of half double crochets, we're going to be doing a row of back loop slip stitches. So I'm going to chain 1, turn, and then slip stitch into the back loop only, making sure to keep it nice and loose, a little bit looser of a gauge than I do with the half double crochets, just to keep it from getting too cinched. And make sure it's not too tight to continue crocheting in later. Now we can chain 2. This, once we've turned, this is now going to be the front of my work. I can see how on this side, this single crochet kind of pops up, but on this side, it's flush with the rest of the pattern. We're going to keep repeating this 3 rows half double crochet, 1 row back loop slip stitch for the whole rest of the garment. Even as we're increasing and decreasing, we're always going to do this 3 and then 1 pattern. So I'm going to now do for this next row, I now will be doing back loop half double crochets to continue to have that row of slip stitches sit above the rest. So each time you do your row of each time I do a row of back loop slip stitches, the next row of half double crochets will also need to be back loop. So once I do this final half double crochet, I'm going to do another half double crochet into the same chain, increasing by 1. So this last row has 33, just to give us a slight bit of an angle as we're moving up. Now we're going to move up to the shoulder. So before I do my next row, I'm going to chain 40. This is obviously what I'm doing to fit me, but if you are bigger or smaller than me or want this to be more fitted or oversized, you can kind of make adjustments as you think that will fit you. So now I'll continue my pattern by doing 2 more rows of half double crochets and then another back loop single, and then another back loop slip stitch. So I'm going to chain 2 and do my half double crochets. And I will repeat that pattern until the shoulder strap portion has a total of 7 rows. Okay, so I've reached the end of how wide the strap is going to be. So we're working from the bottom and we're going to start working on the neckline. So I want to come up as high as I want this to be to reach the base of the neckline. So I am going to do, I just counted and now I don't remember, so let me recount really quick. I'm going to come up 56 stitches, and because I just did the back loop slip stitch, I need to do a row of back loop half double crochets. So I will work these stitches and then meet you at the other end. Okay, so I've reached where I want this to start sloping down towards the neckline. So I'm going to continue my pattern for 7 more rows, a total of 8, but I'm going to decrease by 2 at the top of every row. So to do that, I'm going to chain my 2, turn, untangle. It's always an important step. Then when I start my first half double crochet, I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first loop. Then I'm going to yarn over into the next chain. Then yarn over through the first loop and then yarn over all 5 chains on my hook. So now I've made 2 stitches into 1 half double crochet. And I'll repeat that process one more time. So now these first 4 stitches in this row has become 2. So I've decreased 2 whole stitches. Then I will just continue the rest of this row like normal. So I'll keep going, keep decreasing by 2 at the top. At the top of each row, including the back loop slip stitches, until I have a total of 8 rows that are sloping like this. Okay, so now I've finished this sloped section. So I'm ready to start doing the middle portion that will be the shortest part of the neckline. And the way I figured out how wide I wanted this to be was just holding it up to myself and kind of counting how many rows once I hit the halfway point. So now I'm just going to do my back loop half double crochets, since I just ended on a back loop slip stitch row. And I am going to go up 40 stitches. Okay, so now including the row I just did, I'm going to continue my pattern for a total of 15 rows across, ending on the last half double crochets before another back loop slip stitch.
Okay, so I finished up the front and back panels, and sorry if I sound funny, I have a very bad cold. I slip stitched up both sides and across the shoulders. I want to get the neck portion kind of taken care of before I move on to the sleeves, so I will probably do the same thing. I'll do a row of single crochets to kind of even this out, and then maybe do, I don't know, I'll figure out some sort of pattern to do just to make like a little bit of a ring around the collar, and then I will move on to the sleeves.
Okay, so sorry if my voice is still funny, I'm still working on the cold. So I started working on the sleeves yesterday, and I didn't think it was possible, but I may have gone too big. This is not even half the sleeve yet, and it would be like this is how big of a poof we're already talking about. And the sleeve isn't even halfway done. So my options are, this currently what I did is these rows are double crochet, and normally when you're joining a sleeve like this, if you've seen some of my previous tutorials where I'm doing a puff sleeve, like no matter how big your stitch is over here, when you're joining it to the side, you still just join like one stitch at a time, if that makes sense, so that everything kind of scrunches where it meets here. But for this like uber puff sleeve, I was even going smaller and sometimes joining in the same stitch that I had started the previous row. So I really like the kind of puffiness that it's starting to make, but it is becoming too big. So my options are either to go down to a half double crochet and do the same technique. I was kind of doing that like every other one, if that makes sense. When I figure it out, I will actually like walk you through when I do the other side and do like a real tutorial for this. I'm kind of just experimenting right now. But so I can either do half double crochets and keep doing what I was doing, or, well, that's kind of it, because otherwise I would just go back to what I had done previously. I guess I could keep doing the double crochet and do what I would normally do for a puff sleeve top and just have that be a little bigger. But I think that's not big enough. Okay, I think if you are somebody who creates your own patterns, or if you've seen my stuff before, you know this takes a lot of trial and error. So I think I'm gonna undo all of this. This is basically almost a whole skein of yarn. I bought 2 more of these, and I can't remember exactly where I started a new skein. This probably isn't the whole thing, but yeah, I don't want to put like 6 or 7 skeins of yarn into this just for these giant sleeves. So I think I'm going to undo all of this and try this again with half double crochets, and then we'll see where we get. Okay, it's been a couple days. Where are we at here? This is how far I've got now that I've redone this. I'm thinking this is probably going to be a little better. I am going to just cut some string. That's not the hook I want to use. I'm just gonna like weave the string loosely through this. Really, it's still tracking my face. That's okay. But just to kind of be able to like cinch it and hopefully get an idea of how much volume this will have. I have this like skewered on my crochet hook, and I'm trying to concentrate and go really slow and make sure I'm not like pulling any stitches out. Oh no, I lost it. Okay, so let me make sure that's not going to fall out. Let me slip this on really fast. No, that's where I stopped, okay. So if I cinch this, woo, hello. Yeah, okay. Obviously there will be more. But that looks awesome. Okay, fantastic. So I'm gonna finish up this, what fuzz in my mouth. I'm gonna finish up this sleeve and make sure it looks all nice, and then when I start this one, I will actually walk you through how I'm doing this so that if you wanna do it yourself, you can do that. Okay, so, this is a little, here, let me scoot you back some. It's still a little much. Yeah, this is crazy. I think like that is kind of what we're going for. This is like so big that the shoulder just wants to come down. Like it's bigger than the actual shirt itself. So I'm gonna reevaluate and try again, and I'll be back next time. I just wanted to show you how freaking silly this was. Okay, we finally got a sleeve. Here now I can actually see what I'm doing. I lost track of how many times I started to redo this sleeve. It's been, I don't know, probably close to a week. I had a very busy week at work. But I think I probably redid it like 3.5 times. Maybe like 2.5 times since I checked in last. I don't know. It just kept being too big. So it's very voluminous, but not so much that I think it looks ridiculous. And like, honestly, when I'm just wearing it casually, it's gonna like, you know, kind of just like flatten out. It does still have the problem of like being too heavy and wanting to fall down. So I think later what I'm gonna do, like right now the neckline is the same in the front and the back. So I think I am just gonna fill this space in. I'm not gonna redo it, obviously, but I'm gonna just like fill in the back, I think, and then just leave this front neckline. So that should be fine. I'll make a note of that. You don't need to know this, but I will make a note of that when I do this part of the tutorial. So you should have seen that if you watched the beginning of this video. But now that I have the sleeve that I want, I can actually show you what I did. So let's do that. Okay, so I've got the armhole here. Make my loop. Attach. Slip stitch to join. Then I wanted to do like almost a 3/4 length. If you saw, the cuff kind of like came right here at my elbow. So obviously if you want this to be shorter or longer, adjust for that, but I am going to chain 40. Then what I ended up doing is a mix of half double crochets and single crochets, and I also alternated how often I joined the rows to the sleeve. So I'll show you that when we get there. But I'm going to start by chaining another 2 and then doing a row of half double crochets. Okay, I zoomed us in a little bit here so you can see what I'm doing. So I've done my row of half double crochets. Now I'm going to slip stitch to join in the next chain. Then I slip stitch into one more chain to start a new row. And if you've seen my previous videos, or if you know how to make just sort of a general puff sleeve, I've talked about before how that is going to help pinch this in to make the sleeve puff out more, because a half double crochet takes up more space than just 2 stitches, but by doing that we're creating a little bit of volume anyway. If you didn't want any volume to happen for a half double crochet, you would skip a couple of stitches to make everything line up evenly, but we're trying to kind of cinch this in here. So we slip stitch to join in the next chain, slip stitch one more. Now I'm going to do a row of single crochets, and the whole sleeve is just going to alternate 1 half double crochet, 1 single crochet. Okay, so I've reached my end of my row with my single crochets. So now I'm going to do a row of half double crochets back up. Okay, so now that I'm back at the armhole, I'm going to do the same thing I did the first time. I'm going to slip stitch to join in the next chain, slip stitch into the next chain to start the new row, single crochet down, half double crochet back, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, I zoomed in a lot so that you can see a little bit more in detail what I'm doing. So this time, to create even more volume, let me turn this so you can see what's happening. Instead of slip stitching into the next chain, I'm actually going to slip stitch into my current working chain. So the chain that I started this row out of, I'm going to slip stitch into that chain to join, and then slip stitch into the next chain to start the next row. So I will alternate like that, going down to the end of the sleeve with single crochets, coming back up, half double crochets, and then every third row slip stitching into my current row to join instead of the next chain. For 2 rows, you will slip stitch into consecutive stitches, and then the third you will slip stitch into your current working chain before moving on to the next one, and continue that all the way around the sleeve. I ended up with about 106 rows. I know it sounds it's a little complicated to keep track of, but you can tell the difference when you're working what kind of joining you've done in the previous row. So if you lose track, you can kind of look back and figure out which ones you've done. But once you get the hang of it, it really wasn't that bad. I'm one of those people that likes to watch TV while I crochet, so I wasn't having to like count and focus so hard that I couldn't do that. So you'll do that all the way around, and then slip stitch to join your sleeve, and then we will work on the cuff. Okay, so I have finished the sleeve. Now to make it smaller before we do the cuff, I'm just going to do a continuous row of single crochets, decreasing every other stitch until it's as small as I want. So for me, that's going to be until I get it down to 70 stitches around. That way, when we do the cuff with back loop slip stitches, it'll obviously cinch down a lot, but not so much that the sleeve becomes too small. So I slip stitched this sleeve to join, and I ended up here. I'm going to chain 1, do a single crochet, maybe, then decrease by doing 2 single crochets together. If you're unfamiliar with this, put my loop in, do half of the first single crochet, then put my hook into the next loop, do half of that single crochet, then yarn over and pull through all 3. And I will just do this every other stitch until I had this down to about 70 chains. Alright, now that I've got this cinched, I'm going to chain 9, then slip stitch into this second chain for my hook,
and continue down the row. Then I will slip stitch to join it to the sleeve, slip stitch into the next chain to start a new row. Then do back loop slip stitches, then chain 1 and repeat doing back loop slip stitches all the way around. And then I will slip stitch the two ends together and you'll have a cuff that looks like this. It's finished. It is quite late at night for me to be crocheting, but I was really trying to get this finished. I have to say I am obsessed with the sleeves. I am so glad that I continued to redo them until I was happy. I love the length. I think they are so cute. The top on its own has some problems. Let me actually be talking to you. Of course, it's a dark color, so I'm trying to make sure I get decent light on it, but it's a little too big, I think. I added a little bit of a trim to it, which helps, and I am wearing it with a sports bra, so I would fill it out slightly better with a regular bra, but you can see where I filled in the back. There's like some wrinkling happening because I had to like cinch it pretty tight to get it to hold itself up, and there's like a ton of extra shirt in the back, like, and I feel like when I stand here like this, that the silhouette would just be a little better if it was just a little bit slimmer. So I put it on with jeans so I could see what it looks like. I love the sleeves. The sleeves make me so happy, which was the goal of this video. So I am still thinking of it as a success, but I have some other projects I need to do and I really need a break from this one. It has been maybe like 3 weeks. I'm not even really sure when I started this video, but I think I will probably end up redoing the whole thing so that I can make the back straight across. I don't think it looks bad the way it is, but it's just not what I wanted size-wise, but I think I will make it a little bit more of a slim fit. But I'm gonna, you know, I have this footage and I know how to do the sleeves now, so that won't be a big deal. And because I'm gonna make it smaller, I definitely won't run out of yarn. I ended up, if you like this fit, if you want to make this and you like this like a little bit looser fit, I ended up using about 3.5 skeins. This is the big twist value from Joann in the color Fig. These are 380 yards, so about 3.5, I think. So overall, I am really happy with it. I know how to make big giant sleeves now, so that is what I wanted. Happy birthday to me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it would be kind of fun to show you my process of making something, and sometimes they don't always turn out perfect and they're not always the most perfect internet tutorial, but you know, this way I could kind of walk you through the process and maybe it can be helpful if you are trying to make your own patterns. But thank you so much for watching this one. If you like this video and you want to see more from me, feel free to subscribe. I post videos 2 to 3 times a month, and I usually do crochet content at least once a month. I have some pretty exciting ones coming up
that I can't wait to share with you. So please stick around and consider subscribing. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.